Hey, hey, y'all. Thank you for joining. I'm gonna just kind of mill around a bit to give people a second to join us. Um, I'm going to actually posted a poll in the group recently, and I actually got a lot of questions around this topic as well. So I wanted to talk a little bit about education and cannabis medicine and being a nurse and just provide you all with an expanded viewpoint of education. Usually, when the question comes up, my advice is usually the same. And I'll offer it to you on the front end, and then I'll explain my thought over the next 20 minutes or so. Hopefully, I don't go over. But if you are considering some sort of educational programming, a master's degree, some sort of certification, um, the advice always is, does this align with your goals or your end game? Is it a stepping stone to get to a specific place? Or do you think at the end of this educational experience, you'll be where you want to be? Is the question that you should ask yourself. So that requires you to know your own goals. That is one of the first things that I ask anybody that I interact with is to know what your goals are. So that's the like short version of the response of the advice. There's a little bit more to dig into as far as my perception and my understanding of what education means to me. And it's very nuanced, which is why I don't share it unless I'm able to provide the full thought. So, just a little bit about me and my educational background. I have a BSN in nursing, I have a master's degree in nursing education. I have certifications, professional development, Lean Six Sigma. Actually, they're kind of expired now. So don't be looking me up and be like, no, it's expired. Yeah, it's expired, but I still have the backgrounds in it. And so, what does that say about me? That says that I do actually value education. And I value it so much so, it is one of my core values. It is also a component of my framework in the work that I do with the Highline Tribe. And so the framework is called the Triple E framework, which is comprised of education, empowerment, and evolution. The first component is the educational piece, and I won't spend a lot of time explaining it because I actually talk about it in the Beyond the Bedside um, experience that we're going to have at the end of the month. So if you want a full look at the framework, definitely join me there so I can have enough time to explain it all. But essentially, education, in its most basic definition, is the exchanges of conceptual knowledge. And so, concepts, conceptual, um, what does a word mean and how does it fit into the context of our physical reality is what makes it a concept. A concept is like a building block to understanding. Words make comprise constructs or concepts. I'm sorry. An example that I was first introduced to as far as concepts are concerned is in my master's program where I had to explain the concept of stress. What does that concept mean? Recognizing the variability and the understanding of what those concepts are, right? And so education is simply transferring the conceptual understanding of a language, a industry, of um, whatever it is that you're trying to help the person understand, right? And so traditionally, education is only looked at from that point of view. And there's a reason for that. Because if we look at US history, and at no point am I saying that education is good or bad. I just want to be able to expand the idea around it, just to make sure that we're clear about what I'm about to go into. But when it comes to education, we have a very interesting history in the United States around education. Um, back before education really became a thing, around like the late 1700s into the early 1800s, which was the industrial revolutionary time frame, there was no real consistent education. There was a reason for that, because nobody had put into place a strategy or a process or a system to help people be employed. So back then, education, it was considered a privilege. So you only could access it if you had money. But when the Industrial Revolution came into play, there was a need to have workers in assembly lines to be at the forefront to create the products and products in that particular area of industry. And so what was the best way to do it was to train the people. Who were the people? The people were the United States citizens. So thus the schooling system was brought into play around that time so that way they could create workers. It worked during that time because the skill level of people during that time was minimal. We have not evolved our school system in the past 200 years. It's the same. All right. It's the same school system. And so now we are in this AI revolution, right? Now we're in this technology revolution. And while there have been some evolution in the way that we see education, the framework still is the same. How do we produce workers? So I say all that to say, like, let's just have a really clear foundational understanding of what education actually is. Because whenever we talk about education, usually it's from the context of school. One of the things that I share with people when I'm dealing with them is that education also comes in the form of hard knocks. You know, the life lessons, the things that you do, the things that you experience, um, the places that you go, the people that you deal with, right? Though that also shows up as educational experiences. So for me currently, the main thing that is helping me reshape the way that I view the world is through improv. I now have a very more expanded, so everything that I used to see was through the lens of a nurse, through the lens of healthcare and hospital, but now I see it from the lens of an artist, right? And so now I have a different view of the world. And when I come to you to express to you, to share with you, it comes from that lens, right? So I want you to consider alternative options. And so while yes, I do offer educational services, if you were to want to try the tribe or to work with me as a coach or whatever, yeah, that would be an educational experience, but I don't even want you to limit yourself to just me. So the reason why people come to me with this question or this conversation is because they're considering usually getting a master's degree in cannabis education. And so in most other industries, they have already been set up where the industry is already established. So when you go, for example, I got my master's degree in nursing education. There was already a pipeline for me at the end of my nursing education degree. Do you want to be faculty at this college? That industry already exists. So when I finished, I knew there was a job at the end of the pipeline. The problem with the cannabis industry being as though it's in its infancy, the amount of money spent on a master's degree or invested into a master's degree may not necessarily take you to the job that you're looking for. And in many cases, when people come to me, they are they realize that, and then I educate them on how to be an independent practitioner to offer service-based healing, healing, holistic healing services. Can I get it out? And so that's where the transition occurs. So either they get the master's degree and have a plan in place, right? So the stepping stone to where you're trying to go, or they get to the end of the master's degree, and because they realize that the jobs that are available are not equal to your experience, they're not equal to what your pay standards are, because if we're nurses, we have a certain standard of comfort when it comes to how much we get paid. So when you get to that and you don't receive that, it's like, well, what do I do? And so that's usually where I come in. So with that being said, I also want to just express to you, just some of the schooling, I'm going to say programming that lives in most of our minds. And so, and you guys may realize it as soon as I say it, because for a lot of reasons, our schooling has not set us up for success to be independent holistic healers. Not to, it hasn't set us up to be savvy business people. It hasn't set us up to be economically driven business development people, right? We don't do that well. What we do well is care for others. What we do well is help heal others. What we do well, requires a skill set that isn't necessarily conducive to owning a business or being independent or being even really successful as a 1099 employee or a travel employee, right? Like a lot of us live paycheck to paycheck. So, with that being said, one of the things that comes up for a lot of us is that there's only one right answer, right? There's only one right answer. How many times have we heard that in our nursing careers or our school, when we were in school, when we were taking our tests, and they were like, well, which one is the right answer? You have to prioritize which one's the right one. And so we come out knowing that there's only ever one right answer. The crazy thing is, while that works in our hospital medication delivery life, it doesn't work, and we, most of us identify only as the nurse, our role as a nurse or a role as a healer. But the reality is every other area of understanding, there is absolutely no right answer. Never. The answer that you make that's for you is intended for you, which is where the spiritual awareness is required so you can discern what answers are for you, right? And because we've learned that there's only one right answer, that makes us fear based and scared to make mistakes. And so, and I'm actually, oh, I'm not going to share it right now, but I just typed this up literally. We're scared to make mistakes, but it's required for us to make mistakes, to fail. Like the first time you pick up your bike, and you decide that you're going to get on your bike and start pedaling. Many of us don't remember that time, but imagine if you never saw a bike, your parents hand it to you and say, get on it. You're scared. You get on it, then you fall, and then you're scared to get back on it because that was scary. You don't want to fail again. You don't want to fall again. That's what happens a lot of time for us. And the reason why we're scared to fall is because we've already been conditioned to pick the right answer the first time because we have, like, you can't, because it's always life and death, right? I mean, that's pretty much what they've told us. And so, what does that do even further? It suppresses excitement. Now, because of your fear, it overwhelms you and then it suppresses all the things that make you excited about life. You're not excited no more. You're not excited to take chances, to take risks, to do the things you actually want to do, right? So, just a little bit more information about because I actually talked to a couple people in the tribe because this came up, and one of the things that one of the young ladies mentioned to me was that she's actually in a master's degree program here in Maryland, and she mentioned that yes, the program is great, science heavy, is a lot of detail, right? So she's learning a lot as far as cannabis, the plant, right? Which is great. And to be honest with you, I have never been a huge clinical person. I've always been an action oriented, let's implement it, let's create systems kind of person. So I know for me, sitting in a master's program dedicated to specifically science, a science based approach or a blanketed approach to cannabis medicine wouldn't necessarily be for me, right? Because that's not the thing that I thrive in. That's not the thing that's going to take me where I need to go. What I know about the cannabis industry is on the ground, hands on. Let's go and visit these dispensaries. Let's go to this grow farm. Let's go talk to these people. Let's understand the experience point of view. That was my way of educating through research on the plant specifically, right? being able to work with different types of patients in different situations through different environments, right? All of those things have taught me what I understand about cannabis as the plant. It has taught me what I understand about cannabis in the industry, and it has also supported why I do what I do within the Highline tribe and through the educational services that I offer. So, for some people, the science heavy approach may be necessary for the goals that they're trying to achieve, and it is never my intention to tell people that that's not a good route to take. And it's not my intention to tell you that today, too. So if you are one of those people, which I'm sure of the people who are here, I'm assuming that you are interested in some way in cannabis education. If that's something that you want to consider, I can definitely connect you with a few members of the tribe to get some insights on their experience. But if you are interested in just talking to me about what it is that I do offer or what the tribe offers, I'd be happy to. So, just a little bit of a plug. I am going to be hosting a more intimate experience where we can actually talk through some of the my personal journey, how I've gone from the bedside to being independent to being able to quit my job at in 2022, I think it was 2021, August 2021. It's almost been 2 years, but yes. So yes, we're going to work on that. I mean, we can do that together. We're going to talk through moving through that transition, what that looks like. We'll talk through some of the frameworks that I used and leverage in order to provide quality service for the people who are a part of the tribe. And if you all have any questions, feel free to let me know. I will drop the link to the for the registration to the Beyond the Bedside. It I also will probably next week, because I did a poll. The other one that was most popular as a response is why is cannabis medicine? So in that conversation, we can talk about the endocannabinoid system and cannabinoids and like the differences between CBD and THC. If that's something you are interested in, I'll repost the poll probably next week to see where everybody's at. But definitely, I appreciate you all being here today. You know, I'm just a girl, black girl who went to a HBCU, who was able to create the life that she desired in order to become who she was intended to be. And so I'm here to support you to do the same thing. So, spiritual alignment, burnout, resilience, entrepreneurship, cannabis medicine is all the things that I can offer and to support you. And you all have a great day.